Welcome to the Always On podcast. My name is Duncan MacPherson, CEO of Pareto Systems. And of course, on this podcast, our objective is to empower our audience, which are high caliber fee-for-service professionals, to keep working on their business and on themselves personally and professionally. And to that end, on today's podcast, I had an unbelievable conversation yet again with Kevin Bishopp. Kevin is the VP at First Trust. He's a performance coach. He's a recognized and highly acclaimed national speaker. He's got incredible insights on growth and bandwidth capacity. But in this conversation, we talked about all things AI as it relates to the financial professional. And just a quick plug, Kevin and I did a 5-series sequence, drill down into AI that you can speak to your First Trust wholesaler about. But we're also in the process of launching a stream of AI insights and breakthroughs, specific use cases around how financial professionals are adopting and deploying AI. I'm so excited about this because the more you get into this, the more you learn, and the velocity of, in terms of the evolution of AI and how the world is being rewired is staggering. So if you like this podcast, please like and share it with the people you know. And if you have any ideas for topics that you'd like us to address down the road, just let us know. Thanks for watching. Very excited to have a conversation with a returning guest, Kevin Bishopp, who has an unrivaled reputation as a performance coach, showing financial professionals, especially teams, how to address bandwidth and capacity issues as they're growing. Kevin is a national speaker, an essential part of the First Trust Practice Management Department. We're very happy to have you here, Kevin, because you're also an early adopter of all things AI. So I'd like to have a kickstarting conversation on AI insights and breakthroughs. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I love this format. I love the topic. And like you, I love that we get to work with financial professionals and teams, entrepreneurs in our industry, those on the leading edge. So thank you for having me join the podcast.
You know, we've done masterminds together. We've done all kinds of coaching interactions. It's always a pleasure for us because you bring such an amazing perspective through the lens of the financial professional. Let's jump right in. What is AI?
Well, AI, the simple definition is AI are machines with cognitive function. Right? Cognitive function meaning perceiving, reasoning, logic, creation of what is now could be video, image, text. That's the basic function or the basic definition, machines with cognitive function. You will see different terms thrown around in the AI space. You will see machine learning, which was the early adoption of AI, where we're putting in limited variables, giving it rules, playing chess, playing checkers, etc. That evolved into deep learning. You might see that term thrown around. Deep learning is where we're pointing AI at massive data sets and simply asking the question, what do you deduce? What do you see? What can you tell us about this data? And then the third iteration is generative AI, which is exactly as the name implies. It's generative. It's creating something out of the data that it finds. That's where your large language models, your chat GPTs, your perplexities, your Claudes, they are all considered generative pre-trained transformers. If you want the technical definition of a GPT, there it is.
You were the first one to explain to me what GPT stands for, because OpenAI, I mean, that was the company that most people understood as part of their initial introduction to AI. Remind us all what GPT stands for.
Yeah, GPT is just generative pre-trained transformer. It has generative capabilities. It's been pre-trained, programmed, algorithm-driven pattern recognition, etc. And it will transform data into something, or it will transform your instructions into potentially usable output for you. But all of that is based upon the quality of the prompt that you utilize when using generative AI tools.
Right. So again, everybody can sense that in that first couple of minutes, this is not just a cosmetic approach to AI. Kevin has a very meaningful understanding for this. So just backing up for one quick second, you and I put together a sequential series of 5 modules through First Trust on AI. That's archived, accessible for anybody who wants to go back and drill down into that. Looking forward, we want to get into a pattern of doing a monthly stream of specific use cases and examples where financial professionals have adopted and deployed AI. We're going to call that AI Insights and Breakthroughs, which I think is perfect. But for the purpose of this conversation, building off, generative, that's so powerful because, the internet up until now, for the most part, has been searching for things that already exist or doing peer-to-peer, B2B transactions. That's fantastic. B2C transactions. But let's go deeper and let's address why it is a financial professional should really go very, very deeply into their understanding for where this is all going with AI.
Yeah, the argument that I make is, first and foremost, AI is already among us. We are already using AI in everyday life in multiple areas. Your Google Maps, your Waze, your Siri voice assistant, your Google voice assistant. Your bank has been using it for fraud detection. Your Netflix queue, your Nordstrom cart, Amazon recommendations, all of that is AI driven, algorithmically driven. So number one is it's not necessarily something to be feared because you probably have more experience with AI than you realize. The question then becomes, and it's really a bigger picture question, is if you want to outperform in this industry as a financial advisor, if you truly want to create professional contrast, you're not going to do it through products. You're not going to do it through basic services. You're going to have to push the envelope and either do things that other competitors are not doing, or you can do some of the same things, but you have to do them in superior fashion. Those are the only 2 ways that you can create professional contrast. And I know that's a term that you coined many, many years ago, Duncan, but that's the only way you're going to create differentiation is you will do things that other people can't or will not do, or you will do some of the similar activities at a deeper level. Well, both of those take resources. They take bandwidth, they take creativity. We now have technology tools, generative AI, to assist in helping you elevate and go deeper with clients. If you can automate certain things to free up time to go deeper with clients, you should absolutely be doing that. If you can find better ways to create content, to position yourself as an authority in your space, if you can do that better, faster than the competition, you should absolutely be looking at that. If you can find other ways to continue to break through and create new client experience standards, new capabilities, all of it is designed to create professional contrast, separate you from everybody else, and make sure that you're meeting the needs of your clients, which in today's environment, right? If you came to me and you said, tell me how you would position a successful advisor, successful team from a value standpoint, I would say the team, the process exists to simplify the complexity of their client's success. So that was a bit of a long-winded answer, but that to me, that makes the case for why is your successful clients have complex needs. You're in a competitive space. How do we utilize technology to continue to enhance our client experience, service delivery, better to connect with clients? So ultimately, we can simplify the user, the quote unquote user experience, their experience in engaging with you, which ultimately does what? Makes you referable, kickstarts the entire endemic growth engine that we like to talk about.
Well, that's terrific. And, at the beginning, you launched into the whole mindset around fear. And there's this phrase that's floating around that AI will not replace humans. It will replace humans that don't embrace AI. It is a tool to be leveraged. And as you and I often talk about, especially when we're doing consultations with teams, as a fiduciary, financial professionals have to understand the velocity, the degree of investment that's going into this space. As a professional, the whole dynamic of time and money, like putting more time, putting more sand in the hourglass and being more productive and efficient, creating workflows, creating professional contrast with content, differentiating that way. And then just personally, being a serious student around areas of innovation. There's that old maxim that says the best way to learn something is to teach it. So as a financial professional is learning AI and then relaying what they're learning to their clients, because clients have an unmet need and they're interested. They're hearing about AI. But, it's interesting. We all know the philosophy that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When the teacher is ready, mastery will appear. Like you can up your game just by researching and then relaying insights around how AI can be used. So I want to get into that. Let's keep going. Let's talk about just very briefly the when. Like when did AI emerge?
The earliest iterations of AI turned up in the late 40s on into the early 50s. Alan Turing was the gentleman who the U.S. government hired Alan Turing to crack the Germans' Enigma code machine. Now, before you think I sound like a historian on this topic, you can watch the movie The Imitation Game. And that's the story of Alan Turing building a team to crack the Enigma code machine. And he was the first gentleman who really started to press into using technology in these types of spaces. Well, that was, let's do our math, that was 80 years ago, right? Which is even weird to say that something that happened in the 40s was 80 years ago. It still feels like it was only 40 years ago. But that's a long time. Fast forward to today, and with some of the research that your colleague Amal did, Duncan, he said there's 70,000 companies globally who are in the AI space. Not 70, not 700, 70,000 companies that are in the AI space deploying or creating and deploying it in a variety of ways and astounding ways. I'll give you one example. I met an advisor who is wealth manager, right? Also, his firm has some other lines of business. They own a telecom company. They build and maintain cell phone towers. Well, as you can imagine, to maintain or to service cell towers, it's costly because you have to have an engineer, get on location, get geared up, get harnessed up, climb the tower, inspect all of the tower, make sure that everything's in good order, functioning properly, etc., identify what needs to be maintained. That's now considered old school, because new school is this company has hired a couple of qualified drone pilots. They've purchased commercial drones with engineering grade camera equipment, and they have these pilots fly their drones up around the cell towers in a circular pattern. It takes about 10 minutes. The drone flies all the way up the tower, comes all the way back down, does that multiple times. They download all of that imagery. Remember, they're just downloading imagery, video recording into their AI, and their AI will spit out to them a maintenance report, recommendations, and proposal for that cell tower. These nodes need to be replaced. These wires have been chewed. These bolts are rusty. This part needs paint. And no human ever climbed the tower. Right? Nobody had to harness up. It was AI-driven innovation. Right? We're going to have body scans that do the same thing in the not too distant future. You're already seeing them pop up. You want to get a full picture of your state of health. It's going to be fewer needles and probes and far less intrusive in the future. You're going to lay on a table, stand in the machine. It's going to whiz around you and come back and say, okay, here's your BMI, here's your blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, bone density, all of those things. And here's how you remedy it. It's astounding what's happening among us today.
Yeah, in real time. And you're right. I mean, AI feels new, but I think it's just new to us in terms of its incredible potential. You talk about the imitation game. You also remind me of the movie Elysium. And you remember they had those med beds?
Mm-hmm.
Those, and that, again, those were scans, predictive, in terms of pattern recognition, just incredibly powerful. It's worth everybody going back and looking at the movie AI that came out in 2001. It's incredible. Artificial Intelligence, 2001. Another movie I really like is Simone with Al Pacino, because it shows you the capability. Because a lot of people think in terms of Hollywood with CGI and AI, but now it's mainstream. Let's talk about the Who. Okay, most people think of AI, they think of open AI, they think of NVIDIA. I like one of the most recognized faces in AI is probably Elon Musk with Tesla, SpaceX, and all of that tech. There's an amazing picture I found of Elon Musk with Peter Thiel when they founded PayPal. Peter Thiel on Palantir on the side of the cybersecurity and those dynamics. Who else can you think of in terms of innovators and driving forces in the space?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what Apple does with their AI and how that evolves, because we are all so integrated with Apple. Most people, not everyone, because I know that you don't have an iPhone, Duncan, not to pick on you, but most people are Apple consumers because they make it so easy. You've got an iPhone, that an iPad, a Mac desktop. I spend most of my time personally, I'm just using ChatGPT. They seem to be on the leading edge in a lot of areas. Their most recent release, it used to be text-based prompts. Now you're going to be able to speak and have a conversation with their AI. You're going to be able to point your phone at images, math equations, algebraic equations, problems that you need to solve, and it's going to use its pattern recognition, its cognitive function, and deduce how to solve problems. There's no shortage of AI out there. The real question is which one will serve you best based upon what you want to accomplish. And that's part of the reason why I like OpenAI and ChatGPT, is because inside of ChatGPT, they've got all sorts of widgets, whether it's data widgets, educational widgets, research and analysis. In our series, we talked about Golf GPT, right? A virtual caddy. So this is not just AI for business sake, right? It's also quality of life. There'll be a lot more innovation in that space as well.
A customized podcast can add credibility and efficiency to your communication efforts. Sifting good prospects from the mass of suspects, staying top of mind with strategic partners, and activating more advocacy from existing clients can be achieved with a turnkey approach. Learn more at proudmouth.com. The best place to strengthen a client relationship is in the very place where you manage that relationship. BlueSquareToolkit.com has harnessed the best practices of Pareto systems and brought them to life in our easy-to-use system that is accessible on both your phone and your desktop. Simple technology to uncomplicate your life by creating clarity, accountability, and consistency for your entire team. Build stronger client relationships by tracking and archiving essential information on what matters in your client's life, and make yourself indispensable and more referable in the process. Create a more consistent client experience and grow your business with the Blue Square Toolkit. Visit bluesquaretoolkit.com to get your 14-day free trial today. Okay, so clearly an interesting, rapid paced sector. Let's talk about application. What are some of the use cases that you've seen where a financial professional has adopted and deployed AI to move the needle in terms of productivity or efficiency, especially recently?
The ones that we have seen get traction the most were early adopters with ChatGPT or others for some form of content creation. And I use content creation as the category because it might be an email to a client. It might be an invitation to a virtual event, a client appreciation event. It might be the creation of a blog post or an outline if they wanted to record a video. Most of them are using it for content generation, as well as they're using it to replace the time that they're using for research. For example, if I want to know about a topic and I'm using Google, I'd say, hey, Google, I need to know more about long-term care insurance. Right? Just very basically, I'm going to get a list of articles. I'm going to get a bunch of paid advertising, and I've got to go do my due diligence, figure out which articles I need to read, how much time is that going to take me? I don't even know. Are these sources reliable? Okay, now I've got my reliable sources. I'm going to do my research. And then I'm going to formulate an opinion or have my answer regarding long-term care. In the new paradigm, you go into AI and you say, give me a 10-point summary of long-term care insurance for me in the state of Washington. Tell me the 5 highest rated, most reputable providers. I'm a 50-year-old male, and I'm thinking about long-term care for me and my spouse. Higher quality prompt, but you click the button, and it's going to deliver back to you those 10 points. Educate you on long-term care. Here's the players in the industry. It's going to know the guidelines around long-term care in Washington State. For example, if you don't have your own long-term care coverage in Washington State, there's a payroll tax that you pay for state-provided long-term care. You can get out of that payroll tax by having your own long-term care insurance, and it's far less expensive than the tax that you pay. How do people learn that? They learn that by simply asking ChatGPT. Right? I need to know everything about long-term care in the state of Washington. I want the best deal. I want the providers. Educate me. And it just goes out into the universe of data that exists, which that's another reason why it's happening, is 64 zettabytes of data. A zettabyte is 1 gig with 12 zeros. Right? 1 gig, like you might have a 64 gig iPhone, right? There's 1 trillion iPhones with 64 gigs worth of data on the earth. Right? So it's able to pour over much of that data. 2, it can do it at high speed, right? Because all that data would be useless if we couldn't access it quickly. So we're going out over the fiber that's in the ground. Last study I saw said 2.5 billion miles of fiber optic cable in the ground under the ocean. And if you're worried about not having connectivity because there's no fiber in the ground, not to worry, Starlink will have you covered. They're covering 99.6% of the US with 6,000 satellites. That's continuing to expand all around the globe. Plus, okay, so data archived, accessible at high speed, ingredient number 2. Ingredient number 3 is you need a device powerful enough to crunch the data. You now have that in your hand with an iPhone, the most recent Android, Microsoft Surface, MacBook Pro, whatever machine you're purchasing today or within the last 2 years has the computing power to interact with these tools. So it's astounding what is happening. And we've had conversations about, what was the most recent evolution prior to this. I think it's the internet, right? I think this is the next biggest thing since the internet. And it took 7 years to get 100 million people on the internet. It took ChatGPT 2 months to get 100 million users.
Yeah, there's an inflection point around adoption and how this is going to impact people's lives. Okay, let's unpack this for a little bit and just frame it, because from a professional perspective, fee worthiness, loyalty, empowerment, advocacy, building on the foundation of technical ability and reputational equity as a financial professional. Now there's thought leadership in terms of content creation. There's intellectual property in terms of creating workflows and automated process. But you hit on something that's very compelling. The ability to ask questions, to see things through the lens of a client. Like Chris Jepson mentioned to me a scenario where a financial professional can go on a ChatGPT and just ask it a question like, I'm an affluent, high net worth, self-made business owner and investor. I'm contemplating switching financial advisors so I can have my complex needs addressed. What should I look for? And seeing what chat tells a client to look for in a financial professional is probably a good exercise as a professional to expand their thinking around how they're perceived and how they stand out from the pack. Number one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's a great example of using it for research purposes. You could even cut it a little bit deeper. Like in our first episode of our series, we talked about the example of an advisor who has a niche working with business owners who are going to experience a liquidity event. So you can ask ChatGPT, hey, I've got my foothold in the technology space with business owners. These are rapidly growing companies. There's liquidity events all the time. They happen quickly. What is on the mind of a business owner who's going to sell a software company? But it gets better because you can say, I want to understand their mindset from a technical standpoint around the technical aspect of the transition, valuation, timing, finding the buyer, etc. But I also want you to consider the emotional aspect of selling a business. You're going from business owner, where your identity is consumed as being the business owner. You created this thing too. Now you've got a check or you've got a stream of income. You've been paid for that thing. You have relationships that existed with your team, your management team, your employees, etc. How is that impacted when there's new management that comes in? So you can ask ChatGPT to do, or any other AI tool to do its best to think about the human side, the emotion, the apprehension, the excitement, the tension. And then with all of these tools, right? And I've been drilling this into the clients that I consult with all of these tools, the better the prompt, the better the outcome. And I love your framework, Duncan. You should tell the audience about your framework for prompting. I won't steal your thunder because it's brilliant. And I know the teams that are using it are getting fantastic results.
Well, and it's very simple. It's just a Kickstarter. When you go into ChatGPT, based on the Socratic method and based on just understanding that many issues are 2 or 3 questions deep, just kickstart it by telling Chat the role, both in terms of you, who you are, and what the addressable audience is, the goal, what are you trying to accomplish, and then to your point, the soul. So role, goal, soul. Soul is just to humanize it. And that's often in the 3rd or 4th prompt as you drill down. But I found that just going in with that mindset, you generally get into the red zone in terms of what you're looking for. But something just occurred to me you think of a motorcycle, a sidecar, or a wingman pilot, or in life, just having another set of eyes. From a professional perspective, AI is like this virtual assistant, virtual R&D, virtual CFO in terms of workflows and automated process. I mean, it can really actually supplement the org chart in terms of time efficiency and money productivity. So I can't wait to get into that more. But in the spirit of time, I want to go swing back from the professional to the fiduciary. The leadership role of a financial professional is to constantly show clients where everything is going. Like, what is the trajectory? And the ripple effect of AI as the world is being rewired. Like you talk about Starlink and its interconnection. That map, by the way, the Starlink map is mind-boggling. And I saw a Starlink chain the other day, mesmerizing as that thing cuts across the sky, and how that's going to supplement the undersea and the under subterranean fiber. But the ripple effect. So you mentioned something to me, it never occurred to me, as it relates to power consumption required and the distinction between how much power is required to go and search something and find something that exists, as opposed to the machine learning and the assembling of something through AI. I'd love your perspective on that.
Yeah, the last data point that I saw was that a traditional Google search versus an AI prompt, at the basic level, the AI prompt will consume 17 times the amount of power to process, aggregate, and deliver back to you the information that you're seeking, which is an interesting concept, because if you think about the Google search, what power is being consumed in that process is it's just giving you a list of articles, and then it's your power, it's your time that is converting that list of articles ultimately down to an answer. Well, we're replacing that with AI, but that requires power consumption. So with AI in its infancy in our space, I would say we're still in its infancy with financial advisors, because we generally lag, our industry lags from a technology standpoint. But globally, we're still in early adoption phase. It will be imperative that people think about the grid, right? And power consumption as being something that we need to be thinking about, as well as a potential opportunity as a fiduciary. And like when we have these conversations, when we're talking about a topic, the more questions we ask, the more we talk about it, it goes one more layer deep, right? It continues to go another layer deeper. So sometimes it doesn't even feel like we have the full landscape on an issue. This is one where we just continue to go deeper and deeper and find more application and more implications.
Well, and I just come back to your initial point about fear. I mean, knowledge is power. And the more curious, the more we dig into this, I think it's invigorating, it's rejuvenating, and it's very, quite frankly, exciting. I read some studies on YouTube and the hosting power of all the video that resides out in the cloud. And to think that that's going to be impacted 17 times in terms of the machine learning and the assembly of generative AI, that is going to have massive implications and create opportunities as well. So, yeah. Kevin, I know you're busy. We're going to let you go. Everybody, just if you want to go a little deeper, we on the First Trust site, you can speak to your wholesaler. We've got these 5 sequential modules where we do an initial drill down into AI functionality for the financial professional. I love that. I'm extremely excited about the AI insights and breakthroughs stream that we're going to make available as well, where we provide use cases and specific bona fide ways that financial professionals have adopted and deployed AI. Great chat. I know you got to go. Thank you very much. And look forward to that series. And I hope you have a great day.
Yeah. Thanks, Duncan. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Always On with Duncan MacPherson, where our objective is to enable professionals to always be working on their business and on themselves. Want to learn more about Duncan and his team? Visit ParetoSystems.com. Don't forget to click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the hosts and/or guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Pareto Systems. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. This podcast is powered by Proudmouth, the Influence Accelerators. If you're like me and want to spend more time educating people and less time selling, Proudmouth helps turn Main Street experts like you into trusted mainstream authorities. They will help amplify your influence over a growing audience of magnetically attracted fans. Visit proudmouth.com to learn more.